So when does a boy become a man, right? When does a boy go from boyhood to manhood? Well, it depends on what culture you come from. But I believe a boy becomes a man when he finally realizes that he has feminine energy that flows through his body.
Okay, let's stop right there. So, a couple things. First, I'm going to come at this from the biological lens. And again, BC, it's not personal. You're inspiring a lot of response in me to clarify some of this message. First, let's define maleness and femaleness from a biological lens. This is an objective, observable fact. And then we can get into masculine and feminine energy and then what it means to be a man biologically. Because again, God designed biology to reveal truth to us if we could see it. It's biologos. It's the book of life. And so the closer we look, the more we can understand things like our psychology because they're influenced by biology. You can't separate the two. So let's start with okay, number one, there are two hemispheres of the brain. The right side is the male side, the left side is the female side. Now, a man, why is this important? A man can't be in his feminine energy on a hormonal level. Now, of course, a man can be nurturing and you can say, oh, that's a feminine expression coming through him. He could feel his emotions. He could be emotional. He can be unpredictable. He could be unstable. These are all feminine qualities. And this is an attack on, is not an attack on females. This is the nature of femininity, which is governed by hormones, right? This is the nurturer, the cycles that change throughout the month where men are on a daily infradian rhythm. Their cycles change throughout the day. So females are by definition unpredictable, less stable. Um, their nervous system is twice as dense. They feel twice as much as us. So for a man to be in his feminine, not just have a moment of expressing something that you call feminine, that's fine, right? Because of course, a man is going to nurture a child here and there. He's going to cry, when he's overwhelmed at times. That could happen, death in the family, whatever it might be. But that's, when we talk about embodiment in the body, for a man to be in his feminine, in his body, means his hormones are shifting. Every time a man cries, his estrogen skyrockets. And it's not wrong or bad. Estrogen is the feeling hormone, and women are typically have 10 to 15 times more estrogen than a male. But in order for him to be in his feminine, in his body, in a way that we can actually see it, his male side has to shut down. So, this whole let's balance our masculine and feminine energy thing, for a man to be hormonally female, which then you'll see he's going to express a lot of feminine traits: unstable, unpredictable, um, the inability to commit, highly emotional, volatile, indecision. He's going to be expressing all those things. No woman, at least feminine woman, actually wants that in a man. They might see it out there and go, man, that man crying, it's so beautiful. I want my man to do that. But if he lived that way, she would be repulsed. Because again, opposites attract and create order. A female that sees a man with female traits will be repulsed and pushed away eventually, and vice versa. So, for a man to embody his femininity, he has to actually have what are called DHS, which is an acute experience with that's overwhelming, where you're caught off guard and you're isolated. Those three hit at once, and you can actually then see the impact on the brain under a CT scan. There's been over probably now 50,000, 40,000 was the initial findings, but well over 50,000 now brain scans of how we can actually see trauma on a brain scan. And when a man has a DHS, one of these traumatic acute, highly acute experiences, in regards to his maleness, meaning his territory. So again, a man's territory, I talked about this in a previous video. He is wired to provide and protect. His territory is what he considers his. He's naturally territorial. This is a male trait. This is a testosterone-based trait. He's territorial over his woman, his work, his actual territory, his home. So things like trespassers, noisy neighbors, his woman leaving him suddenly or cheating on him, competition at work, all of these things, if he has a traumatic, highly acute, shocking moment in relationship to these things, to his biological territory, then he will become biologically castrated. His DHS will hit his temporal lobe, his testosterone will tank, and it will close down his male side and open up his female side. So now he's going to see the world more through the eyes of a female, because this is what hormones influence. They influence perception of the world and self and behavior. Now, the only way that he can actually start becoming more feminine is if he's also depressed. The only way he can become more feminine is if he's also depressed, because a male that loses his territory, his work, his wife, his home, whatever it is, will have territory loss. His testosterone will tank. He'll become more emotional, impulsive, and he'll have primary depression. So there's a cost to a man living from his feminine. This is why this is not the design. It is an adaptation to stress. And the new age or this kind of spirituality says, oh, you have to have these things in balance. No, you don't need to balance anything. Your biology is perfect as it is. It's going to balance itself. When you start resolving these conflicts, a happy and fulfilled masculine man it has high testosterone, which means he's stable. He's not very emotional. Right? This is why men need sex more than women, because when a man has sex with a woman, his testosterone gets so high that some of it starts converting to estrogen, and then he's able to feel. So men want to have sex, yes, because their sex drive is twice as big as women. Literally, that part of the brain is twice as big. But also because it's how they feel their heart. It's how they feel the love and the connection to their woman, and it releases prolactin, which bonds them. So men need sex more than women do for this reason. So there are built-in ways where men are going to feel, and it's typically through their woman. It's not through them becoming like their woman. Right? So it's not let me learn how to embrace my femininity. To embrace your femininity means you've had some sort of territory loss, territory anger, territory fear, the threat of your territory being taken away from you. In a wolf pack, if a beta male challenges the alpha and loses, it has territory loss. These are the same programs that are in animal biology. And a lot of this kind of spirituality completely diminishes the human animal. So if he loses that fight, he'll have territory loss. What's the purpose of that? Well, his testosterone makes him less aggressive. So he's less likely to challenge that alpha again because he almost died. So now he becomes more like the females, more concerned about his appearance and, cuddling and bonding. And he will even become gaily fixated on the alpha male wolf because he wants the protection of the wolf to keep his place in the pack. Okay. This is not freedom for a man. This is not spiritual advancement. This is not evolution. This is deception, and it's innocent 9 times out of 10 because it seems, oh man, yeah, men need to feel their emotions. Yeah, okay, when an emotion comes up and if it's overwhelming you, yeah, don't fight it. Let yourself feel it. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you think you're going to become more masculine through becoming more feminine, and what I'm telling you is actually becoming more masculine is the design for every man in terms of their freedom, in terms of becoming unconflicted, in terms of feeling the most fulfilled, stable, and joyful self is to have no conflicts in the territorial lobes. Now, this is something that in German New Medicine, we would say a lot of people have maturity stops. This is why this is so nuanced, and I have to do a long video on this. At, let's say, 8 years old, there was a couple acute moments that happened close together. And when you have a couple of these conflict shocks, instead of altering your biology, it alters your behavior and your perception. So you might go into bipolar depression. You can go into addiction, multiple personality, mania, psychosis. These are all different constellations. Now, if that happens before you're 25, it kind of gets crystallized. Now, I don't believe it's impossible. Some people will say, I don't believe it's impossible to reverse, but some people will say it is. So even if now you start resolving your territory conflicts, whether you can completely resolve them or you downgrade them, what happens is your testosterone goes up. And for a man, testosterone is actually keeps you stable and happy and high energy, which again, these are the opposite traits of the female. When you have those two come together, you have attraction and you have order in a household for children. So let's keep watching. There's a lot more I could say on this, but let's keep watching.
Right? And that triggers a lot of men. A lot of men pretend like they have no feminine energy through their body, no wisdom, no intuition, no emotions, no feelings. They've suppressed it and they've shunned it and they've condemned it because of the overstimulation of the woman, overstimulation of pornography and women in culture. And we are so hyperstimulated by the women's parts that we forget to listen to the women's hearts. Women have ancient codes of wisdom. They are the oracles for us men to actually understand our true divinity, our true divine masculine, our empowered masculine. We need to learn how to listen to women. Women are either controlling us sexually or they are enlightening us spiritually. And
Okay, so he's pointing to some truth here. It's like women do have their nervous system is twice as dense. Their intuition is very heightened. So of course you want to be able to listen to your woman, but this has nothing to do with becoming more feminine. Again, any man who's expressing regularly feminine traits is depressed. There's no way around that. You could see this on a brain scan and you could see this in hormones. As long as there are active territory conflicts, he might be more feminine and some women might look at him and go, oh, he's so embodied, right? But his testosterone is lower, which by definition means he's depressed. This is why when you give men TRT, all of a sudden they go, oh yeah, my depression lifted. They're coming out of a female hormonal status. So we can't negate that, let's take it back a step before going into discovering your divinity. First of all, and this is going to be a different conversation, let's, in my humble opinion, it's more mature to focus on the divinity of God and Christ than your own divinity. It's always about, let me embody my divine masculine, your divine, look how divine we are. And very often that just leads to a very egotistical, self-focused, even like megalomania. Look at how divine I am. Now, what's interesting is as soon as you say I, you're referring to your ego as divine. I am divine. What I are you pointing to? This is why when you can't say I am God, because the I you're referring to is limited. So you're making something infinite limited. You're saying I am this. If the divine is infinite, if you're pointing to the infinite, the you with senses, your body, your mind body complex, you can't actually define that as God because it's limited. So see, again, this is another deception. It's like, what makes a man a man? Now let's get into it. What makes a man biologically? Number one, he's resolving his territory conflicts. What does that lead to? His ability to provide and protect. Now, what determines his ability to provide and protect? He needs to develop the skills and he needs to have courage, right? So a man, just like a sword, breaks at least 3 times in order to be strong enough to use and to fight with. His will has to break over and over and over as he fails and suffers, so then he can get back up and learn to rely on himself and God. And if he can fully individuate from his family, this is why a friend of mine, Jaguar, says a man is only a man once his father dies. Now, I don't think it's that cut and dry, but I think what he's pointing at is when the man is completely self-sufficient, he's developed the skills, he's went through the hardship, and he's let go of his childish psychology that says that's all about fulfilling his selfish needs, right? Mindless sex, addiction. When he releases the lower tier value propositions of addiction and temporary satisfaction, instant gratification, when he starts releasing those for higher values, God, truth, love, then and then develops the skills to become completely self-sufficient, not relying on mom, not relying on dad. And he enters a relationship and he's leading with voluntary self-sacrifice, provision, and protection. And he's resolving his territory conflicts, meaning he's becoming more masculine, more stable, less volatile. Doesn't need to constantly process his emotions. That's a man. In biology, the alpha is simply a man that gets to mate and that has the highest testosterone. His testosterone could be twice or three times greater than everyone else in the wolf pack. What does that mean? He has no territory conflicts. So also biologically, a man with a woman he's having sex with in a partnership, ideally a marriage, who is providing, protecting, and has resolved or at least downgraded his territory conflicts, who's become independent, who is self-sufficient between himself and God, and increases in the upward spiral of voluntary self-sacrifice, which requires the death of his little boy psychology and meeting the selfish needs of the boy, that's a man. In fact, it's the opposite of him embodying his feminine energy. It's him resolving the conflicts that puts him in his feminine energy. And then he could be fully man and she could be fully woman. This is why children are a kind of initiation into a boy becoming a man. This is often for a man because they're not initiated by their bodies. Women are initiated by their bodies, their menstrual cycle, childbirth. Men are initiated through suffering and trials and giving up their boy psychology for a true expression of maleness. So his I lost my train of thought. When children come, he's hit with so much love that he goes, okay, I'm gonna sacrifice for them. And this isn't self-deprecation kind of sacrifice. This is a man living beyond himself. So his nature and maturity comes through selflessness. A woman comes more through selfishness, but not the negative sense, in the sense of he's wired to love and give to her. She's wired to receive it and reciprocate and appreciate and respect, right? And to receive. So when he's fully living that out, which sometimes it does take the child for him to go, okay, I'm going to give up my lower needs, my lower values for something higher. That forces him often into maturity. And that's a male thing to do. Okay, wow, I got to provide for them now. I got to give them the best life possible. If he's over there just focusing on feeling his feelings and getting addicted, because this can happen, especially if he's getting a lot of attention, why would he ever stop? Then he's stunting his own growth. Now, this doesn't mean avoid authentic emotion. That's okay. But his ability to problem solve will actually get him through the emotion quicker. When he has a way forward and then he's able to respond or act or take action in a way that actually resolves a situation, he will resolve emotionally, whereas women will resolve emotionally by expressing fuller and talking it out and going and going and going until they can start to see it differently. So through his resilience, through trials, through his suffering, which leads to his development of skills, which leads to him letting go of his, childish values, and through him resolving his territory conflicts that keep him in a volatile, low testosterone state, he develops into a man. And that will actually not integrate feminine energy. It will actually get him out of feminine into his full maleness. And then when he's providing and he's in that role and he has his woman and he's having sex with his woman and he's providing, he will feel like an alpha, and that is the healthiest kind of male on the planet. He's aggressive, he's competitive in all the right ways. And this is what we need more of, not this kind of feminine embodiment stuff. Yeah, you don't want a man to be totally repressed to where he can't even sit down and listen to his woman, of course. Yeah, he might need to do some of that work. But it's not about becoming more feminine. It's not about acknowledging I have feminine energy in me. It's if I have feminine energy in me and I'm in a feminine female state, there's some conflicts, long-standing conflicts I need to resolve. And that's what he should be focused on. And then he's retrieving his maleness and he comes out of depression. So I think I'll leave it there for now. Went a little longer than I expected. And I'll see you in the next one.